fine folks of North Central Pennsylvania. It is I, the former governor of Minnesota, Jesse the Body Ventura. And because the boys, they needed a favor. They needed some big guns called in because that son of a gun, Roy Thomas, he done big leagued them. Was not gonna show up, do that interview. He said, nah, brother, I'm too big for that. Anyway, so they called me the star of The Predator, along with my good pal Arnold Schwarzenegger, who I got the job in the first place. I'd like to think I'm the best governor to come from the movie. Anyways, this is North Central Comics Club very special episode on The Predator with the release of Prey and the new Marvel comic. We also got some old comics to talk about. Anyways, the boys are very excited. Please welcome Brett Crossley and Jeremy Stout. Wow, thank you, Jesse. So it's a real pleasure that we could get somebody so esteemed as Jesse the Body Ventura to just grace us with his presence. But before we get in to any of what Jesse just told us about, how have you been, Brett?
Good.
We haven't talked in a while.
Yeah, I've been busy. Yeah, how's everything going?
It's been all right. I also have been pretty busy. While you were all out of town, out of the office for Little League, I was out of the office because my dad had surgery. So things have been pretty crazy. So that's maybe why we're a week and some change late on this one. But don't worry, folks. We'll get you 2 in September. Unless I'm lying, but I'm not. Anyways, so yeah, as Jesse said, we have Predator Hunters to talk about. That was the book Brett recommended that I read. That's by Chris Warner and Francesco Ruiz Velasco. And then I recommended We Only Find Them When They're Dead, Book 1. By Al Ewing and Simone DeMeo. The other items I'm going to talk about is I'll be talking a little bit about AEW's All Out pay-per-view that happened over the weekend, where CM Punk had his little meltdown and MJF made a return and got overshadowed because of that meltdown. WWE's Clash at the Castle, which also took place over this weekend. Spoilers, it was better than most WWE shows. RoboCop, the 4K from Arrow Video just came out pretty recently, and I finally got a chance to take a look at that, and I'll give you a little my brief thoughts on those. And then I also went to go see 3,000 Years of Longing, George Miller's follow-up to Mad Max Fury Road, which I'm also going to give a little bit of a rundown of. And of course, we'll obviously have our pull box recommendations. But before we get to our recs, let's talk about the Wellsboro Comic Con for a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. What do you think of it?
I liked it. At first, my concern was how spread out it was going to be, just where comics were going to be. But I thought all in all, it was a really cool experience. We were up there for the first day. We got to see the cosplay parade down in downtown.
Yeah.
We got to see a couple of vendors. We did get to see our Isle of Comic buddies over there. But I thought all in all it was a really cool experience. It looked like the whole little downtown area, Wellsboro, kind of pitched in and had fun.
That was what was really cool about it to me is that it was light on the actual comics buying. So if you wanted to go to a comic convention to buy some comics, it might have not been the best for you, but it had a really great atmosphere, and it was a really great way to meet people with a similar interest as you. And again, it highlighted Wellsboro in a really interesting and unique way, in the way it brought in like local businesses. You had the local ice creamery there making a special comic themed ice cream. You had a local bar that had like 9 different cocktails that they made special. And It was super cool. I think it's one of the more unique conventions I've ever been to. And again, they did have they had a really great list of guests for their first year, headlined by Roy Thomas, who I know Jesse has some problems with, but you know, Roy's good with me. Roy's good with me personally. So now that we've talked about Wellsboro, let's get talking about the Recs we made for each other. Do you want to start off with Predator Hunters, or we only find them when they're dead?
Why don't we go with this one?
Okay, sounds good.
So we went through this and talked about it. I like the concept in this series a lot. I think the execution might have been left a lot for me to be desired. I felt like the artwork was a little, I even said it, I felt like it was very bright and colorful, but also very dark in a way. And I know that kind of are two ideas that don't really go together, but it is kind of how it's just very dark tones in all the colors. And I feel like if one color's dark and they're all dark, then everything's dark, and that's kind of how it ended up looking.
Yeah, so I get that. It kind of had a muddy feel where things blurred together, which I think was more because we read it obviously print. And I think it was, and it's clearly a digital, Simone DeMeo is clearly doing all of the art on digital, and I'm pretty sure it's being colored digitally, obviously. It's being colored digitally. And I think that it would have been represented a little bit better digitally, the artwork, which is not something I usually would say. But what I really liked about this is just the expanse and the way it had its ideas. Like Al Ewing sets up this world where like gods are showing up at the far edge of the universe, and like people are in little ships are going and mining them for like their meats, like literally just straight cutting hunks off of them, and like people are eating them as like steaks, and this is only the first 5 issues, and that's all Brett read, but I've read the first 10, and it gets really expansive, jumping forward through generations and really stretching it out. And the place it starts is very different than the place it is going, and it's not even over yet. And I think it's just a really interesting book going on right now.
I definitely would like to, I feel like, read more in it. Yeah, I think that's what I would like to do, is just see more of the series. The ideas were there, but like I said, the execution was a little, it almost at times was difficult to keep track of the characters and where you were, because it does time jump a lot too. So
Yes,
if you're
it does
not
do that,
paying
yeah.
attention to the little timestamps at the top of each panel, sometimes it can get a little lost and you kind of have to backtrack. At least I felt like my reading experience, that's kind of how things went for me.
Yeah, I could see that. It's kind of like it's structured a lot like a Tetris puzzle, I guess. Like there's a lot of pieces moving in and out, and you kind of have to be very on guard and keep up with it.
Yeah, kind of colored like Tetris too.
Yeah, it is kind of colored. Yeah, it does have a similar visual vibe to Tetris.
I thought it kind of looked like, I said this to you, like a Square Enix kind of later era Final Fantasy type game. Everything's very sleek and very stylish. It was kind of, it was weird reading. I think in the first experience I've ever had where I've read a comic book and I thought what you did, where I was like, boy, digitally, I think this would look a lot cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's hop over to Predator Hunters, the book you recommended for me.
Yep.
I liked this. I thought it was cool. It's a really simple, easy story. You would be more familiar, but like this is like culling together like characters from like the 30 years of Dark Horse comics, right? Like, and I'm obviously not as familiar with that as you, but I think as a pretty simple adventure story of like of turning the Predators on their game, which we'll get into literally right after this when we talk about Prey. Is that it strips them down to make them not as technologically advanced. Like they're using like simple spears and clubs, and all their armor is wooden. And that's revealed later why it's like that, and I think that was also kind of a clever little interesting reveal. But it's heavy on action, pretty light on plot, very easy read, super quick. I really liked the way this was digitally painted. It looked the colors are really nice, and the line work that Velasco uses is somewhere in between like a manga influence and an Archie house style that I found with a lot more gore, and I thought that was really fun, especially as somebody who really likes the Archie Predator comics.
I like this series, and I think the simplicity is why I like the series so much. I think this is what Predator is. I think Predator is an action. I don't want to say hero, but I feel like it's definitely an action genre style comic that fits into it. It's not trying to be anything more than what it is, and it lets the Predator shine. And I think the characters in here, I like how they brought them all together, because Chris Warner is one of the guys that did the original Predator comics, and it's kind of cool to see over the years how everything's come together. And there's actually 2 more volumes of this, so
they
kept it going. So
I mean, because it definitely leads off on a place where there's more room to go.
No, there's more, and actually this. So what happened was, at the end of the 3rd one was right at the end of the accusation of Marvel from Dark Horse Comics and COVID and all that stuff going on. So the 3rd volume kind of gets swept into all that, and I think it was only available in floppy. It might be available in trade, but it wasn't available in trade for very long.
Okay,
so,
they only did that one run, and then Marvel got the license.
Yep.
So, speaking of Disney acquisitions, do you want to talk about Prey?
Yeah, I liked it. Again, I felt like it fit in. It's the new Predator movie that's out. I think it's on Hulu, but I think you can buy it on other streaming services like Amazon or something.
Are you? Yeah, I just watched it on Hulu.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I watch it on Hulu. I like it. I loved where the Predator. I like where the Predator franchise is right now. I feel like they're not dependent on the source material anymore, and have kind of branched out to make the Predator fit into any time frame, any sequence, anywhere they want to put the Predator, it works. And I liked the execution in this one. I thought overall it was a really good movie. Yeah,
I thought this was directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who did 10 Cloverfield Lane. And what I really love about this movie is the way it thinks about how to strip back and finally fulfill the promise from the end of Predator 2 of like, what do predators look like throughout time?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man, you can't have the second movie end with the guy handing Danny Glover an old-timey pistol and not show me a predator in the Old West or somewhere. Like, yes, it's the easiest concept.
Yeah.
Like, and it finally delivers on that, and Trachtenberg really thought about how to strip back the Predator, so he has like a rail gun instead of like a laser cannon on his shoulder. But obviously he still has some cool gadgets, like he has like what's that, like that weird thing that he threw that would like wrap around, like it was like one of those slap bracelets.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's like super sharp.
That's funny. Yeah.
Like that was cool. Obviously Amber Midthunter, who is the star, she is a great new protagonist who is definitely tough, super cool, has a great dog.
Yeah, the dog is amazing.
One of the best dog actors.
Yeah.
I would also just want to say, I would totally watch a predator fight a bear movie.
Yeah,
that was an awesome part of this movie.
If you're a little squeamish about animals getting killed, this might be one you want to pass on. Animals have it kind of hard in it, but all in all, excellent movie.
But I will say this: if you're squeamish about animals getting killed, they do kill a lot of French hunters
Yeah, they
like
do,
trappers.
yeah.
They
Yeah,
suck les bleus, les predators.
yeah, they didn't fare so well in the movie.
No, that's where the movie really picks up. One minor complaint that I do have, and this is a complaint that I have, I guess, more with modern action cinema, is can we stop shooting everything handheld? Like when it's an action movie, let's use a dolly or something. Like let's get a mount, a rig. Let's put a camera on a jib. Let's not just handheld everything when people are fighting. I will say this: I'm glad that the Predator is a tall guy in a suit and not a complete CGI creation.
Yeah.
The
Predator
cool.
was really cool looking.
Yeah.
In this one.
Yeah.
I
They
love
did a
really
design.
good
Yeah,
job.
like much again, thinking back to how they stripped back the design, made it less advanced. It's super cool.
Well, and it was a cool direction to take it because I feel like so many of the other movies are about pushing it forward into the future.
Yeah.
And it was cool to see him go back, like you said, kind of strip everything back and see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that we're to the pool box, do you want to start with the new Predator from Marvel?
Sure. I love where the Predator series is right now. The Marvel comic book takes it in a completely different direction, and I would say, without giving too much away, flips the tables and turns the Predators into the prey.
See, that's what it actually reminded me a lot of Hunters. In a way, because it's again like the humans have retrieved Predator technology and have used it to their own ends, except this is in space instead of on Earth. So it's a little bit more universal, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
truly.
For Marvel's first issue of Predator coming out of the gate, I kind of felt like, especially the way the Alien series went, that they would kind of be more traditional and stick to that route. And I feel like it's good to see them. It's good to see them trying to take a chance and do something different with the series.
It actually, speaking of Alien, it weirdly reminds me of like a Prometheus version of Predator, like specifically
I was
with like
that too. Yeah.
Like there's something very like similar to Prometheus about it, and I can't quite like it's not exactly as religiously in tuned as Prometheus is, but there's something that I can't quite put my finger that reminds me of that movie with this one.
Yep, I agree. It's a good read. It's definitely. I like the direction it's headed. Yep.
All right. So next, do you wanna jump to the new? Oh, by the way, sorry. The Predator run by Marvel is by Ed Brisson and Kev Walker. Ed Brisson is the writer. Kev Walker is the artist. Did just want to mention that. So do you want to jump to Detective Comics?
Sure. I did want to mention too before we get into it. I didn't bring them, but I just finished Southern Bastards.
Oh, absolutely.
All 4 volumes, and man, that is a really good series.
Yes.
If you haven't, it's ended. Well, it hasn't had any new issues since 2018. I think
it's over.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this story, there's probably room that they could add another volume if they wanted. But if you're looking for something really entertaining and different from a traditional comic book that also kind of fits in with the season of high school football and everything, that's your comic book right there.
Well, I mean, we'll talk more about that in the second episode of this month.
But yes. I just finished it and had to put that recommendation out there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, totally get you. So, so do you want to do Detective Comics, or do you want to actually jump to another Jason Aaron series then?
We can talk
let's do Jason Aaron first. So we'll talk. Brett read the first 3 issues of the current Punisher series by Jason Aaron and Jesus Saez on my rec, and I really like it. Punisher has been positioned as the head of the Hand and the god of killers, and the Hand has kind of got him in under their spell by bringing back his wife and promising that they're going to bring back his kids, and it sets Punisher up as a villain, but also it just allows the man to wield swords and murder a lot of dudes, which is cool. Because I've always operated under the Punisher is at his best when you treat him like he is. What if you put John Matrix into the Marvel universe?
Yeah.
So what did you think?
I same take. I feel like I really enjoyed it. It's cool to see. I feel like all the comics are kind of with this theme now, but it's cool to see the flip kind of the script kind of flipped, and that's what I really liked about these first 3 issues. I feel like I couldn't really get a huge bite of what's going on.
Yeah.
But
I'll be sure to give you the 4 and 5, which just came out recently.
Yeah, because I like the series. Plus, I like Jason Aaron as a writer.
Yeah, I think
he got me on Southern Bastard. So I'm
what I'm really looking forward to is because obviously, if Punisher's the head of the hand, he has to be gearing towards a confrontation with Daredevil, and I'm super excited about that.
Well, I gotta say, this makes me want to. I haven't read a lot of Punisher before this, and I kind of want to get into the backstory now. So I feel like it's kind of cool to have something that you should keeping your interest like that.
Yes, you should. You should do that. I can direct you as somebody who has read every issue of the Punisher up through like 2005. I might be able to point you in some directions.
All right, I'll take your recommendation. I like this one.
Yeah. So, now we will finally talk about the new run on Detective Comics, starting with 1062 from Ram V and Raphael Albuquerque. It also has a really cool cover by Evan Cagle. I did want to mention that before we got briefly into it. I think this is very much carried by its art. And I like Ram V a lot. Brett, we're going to be talking about in October his Swamp Thing run, which just wrapped up.
Okay.
So that's like one of my favorite books that DC has been putting out in the last couple of years. But I kind of felt like the story was a little bit ho-hum for me. I mean, it was fine. It was very much like, oh, Batman has a mystery, he's gonna solve it. Like, it sets it up, but like I picked this up because I was like, oh, Raphael Albuquerque. I love Raphael Albuquerque. For those who don't know, he did American Vampire with with Scott Snyder. That's probably his biggest credit. And I think he knocks it out of the park. He's also done some Detective Comics issues here and there before, I believe mostly during the New 52. But what did you think?
I agree. I thought the artwork in this comic book is absolutely amazing. The story's not really pushing the envelope for me. I don't feel like it's anything new from Batman. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just kind of a Batman story. But the artwork is absolutely beautiful in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where I felt like almost the complete opposite here, where I felt like if the artwork was a little brighter, we would have really had a good story and everything put together. But this one's kind of the opposite, where it's not a bad story, but I wanted a little more out of it.
I think that if that's on Comixology Unlimited, I might try and just take a peek at what we only find them when they're dead looks like on digital.
I wouldn't mind seeing.
I want to know what it looks like. Yeah.
How many issues is this in now?
It is, I believe, issue 12, and it's only slated to go 15.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, yeah. See,
so
I would like to see
we're close to the end.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and then this is just what I've read. I read the first issue of Sacrament by Peter Milligan and Marcelo Frusian. This is about a priest in space where the practice of Catholicism has been outlawed, but there's been a string of people being found brutally murdered, hung up in an upside-down crucifix, and it's very much an Event Horizon meets The Exorcist, which I guess Event Horizon is kind of what if Alien met The Exorcist, but like. So it's taking that and just making it directly. Literally, what if we just made The Exorcist in space? So
that's awesome.
And it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. I think there's some Frusian's art. He has some really great stuff where like people have integrated themselves with technology and they start kind of looking like Borgs from Star Trek, but like covered in more soot and sad. So I think it's really cool. I'm gonna definitely continue reading it. It's also the first book that I've read from Axel Lonjo's new publisher, AWA Upshot. I'm interested to see what goes with that. How that goes. This is certainly interesting. I haven't. I want to dip my toes in more. Axel Alonso obviously was the former editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics prior to Akira Yoshida. Sorry, Akira Yoshida. I meant C.B. Sapolsky, not the fake name that he used when he pretended to be a Japanese man. But yeah, before C.B. Sapolsky took over, Axel Alonso also one of the architects behind. A longtime Vertigo editor before that, I should say. I also have been catching up on the current ASM run from Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr., and boy, do I love it. John Romita Jr. kills it all the time. There are some of the coolest looking like action scenes I have seen in a Spider-Man comic in a very long time. I'm one of the biggest John Romita Jr. fans, and this is a book that really typifies why he is so unique and why he is one of the best visual storytellers. He's so clean, so effective, and comes up with like angles and shots that almost nobody else would ever consider. There's like specifically one in I think like issue 3 where like Spider-Man's coming down from a web that he has strung up. That is so cool looking. Like I would love to own that page. There's another one like a spread where Spider-Man is in issue 5 where Spider-Man's like punching through a door, and it's just awesome looking. It's just so cool. And then I also brought the current Christopher Priest, Raphael Sandoval Black Adam series that is a miniseries that is currently in its 3rd issue. That's a really interesting book. It's a book about political intrigue. It's very much somebody, if you've read a lot of Christopher Priest, you'll see a lot of similarities with his Black Panther run, which is another superhero book about how does a superhero exist as a head of state, except where in that one you had a benevolent king. This one, you have a malevolent king. But then you also have this fringe where like Black Adam is dying from some unspecified disease, possibly brought on by a confrontation with Darkseid, and he has to find an heir, and he finds this heir in this a random heir from that he had. He probably has millions, as the one guy from the State Department keeps on saying. He's been around for a while. He doesn't have a one kid, but he finds one that he needs to take his place and give him the powers. And he's just this med student from Brooklyn, and he's a really fun new character going by. I think they're calling him White Adam because he's the good guy. But yeah, it's really interesting, and also I think I've never been a big Raphael Sandoval fan, and I think this really marks one of his better efforts as an artist. Is there anything that you read this month that you wanted to talk about?
Well, we got Southern Bastards coming up.
Yep.
Right now, Gunslinger Spawn and Scorched. I know I talked about those two in our previous episode. Those two comics in August were phenomenal, and I mean, I can't wait to see this month's issues. To see that, I mean, I can't say anything because they ended on major cliffhangers, but man, are they really good stories. I'm having a good time reading all the Spawns right now. They're just really good.
Yeah, cool. I mean,
and coming up, Something's Killing the Children 25, which is going to be
I have
huge.
those issues that you gave me, and I flipped through that Scorched issue. Looks super cool. I'm also interested to dip into Gunslinger Spawn.
Yeah.
Especially because it looks like Brett Booth has stopped doing the thing that I've always hated about his art, where everything was drawn at a Dutch angle. So...
I would say, I mean, I like King Spawn right now. I like all of them, but Gunslinger's probably the one. Scorch is really good too, but yeah, like Gunslinger. Right.
So let's get to the other pop culture stuff in what I like to call the pop cultural hootenanny. So let's talk about the RoboCop 4K from Arrow Video. It is a phenomenal transfer, has a really gorgeous looking Dolby Vision HDR grade. that if you have a TV that can take advantage of it, it's one of the best looking. I mean, Arrow Video does not miss with their home releases. They have some of the best encoding on their discs imaginable. Like their Pitch Black disc looked phenomenal. The Crash disc that they released just in Europe looked great. That 4K. They just do phenomenal work. Also, their recent Ronin remaster was also great. And I've been meaning to take a look at the True Romance stuff. But on top of that, you also get a great new Dolby Atmos mix that really heightens and adds a lot more heft and punch to the RoboCop score. And so, you know, when Emil becomes like a liquid man and smashes against that car, you really get to hear all of it.
That's awesome.
It rules.
One of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh man, dude, that dude gets taken apart. Also, just RoboCop tangent, but like, what a dangerous like USB drive that man has. Just the most threatening USB drive in the world.
Yeah.
Like, just this spike that he uses to that's how he kills Boddicker, right?
I know, yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh man.
Right after he gets trapped under all the stuff.
Yeah,
on him. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I could not recommend the RoboCop 4K Blu-ray enough. It is out now. Now to a movie that is in theaters and hasn't been doing great at the box office, so who knows how long it's going to be there. 3,000 Years of Longing from director George Miller. It's his follow-up to Mad Max Fury Road. It's probably at this point my favorite movie of the year. It's really just beautiful in the way it thinks about how narratives are constructed and what stories mean to individuals. And it uses this romance as the backdrop to kind of dissect how humans interact with the narratives they create. This romance that stretches 3,000 years with this djinn falling in love with, as played by Idris Elba, falling in love with various women throughout time, and the ways that alters his perception of reality in the world. It's beautiful. Cate Blanchett is great. Idris Elba is great. I think it's not getting nearly enough love, and I think that more people should be talking about it. More people should see it. Couldn't recommend it more. I'm not going to say it's better than Fury Road, but it's certainly up there in terms of George Miller movies for me. And then let's quickly talk about AEW All Out, which the least exciting thing about that pay-per-view was the pay-per-view, because everything happened at the press conference when CM Punk threateningly asked Nick Hausman if he still did improv. Brett, do you still do improv? You still do improv? Like, that was like the tone, and then he was like angrily ripping apart like muffins and going like, "This is Mindy's Bakery in Chicago. They're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays though, but a great place. Anyways, these empty-headed EVPs who couldn't manage a friggin' Target, like." And like going on this weird tirade over like that essentially just amounted to, I don't understand why people keep on bringing up Colt Cabana when I'm the one who keeps on bringing up Colt Cabana. It was like we're all trying to figure out who's doing this. It's the hot dog guy's suit. Like, and he's trying to give like a journalistic ethics lesson to reporters there for reporting on this guy who brought up the problem on national television in a promo where he went off script and being like, how dare you report on this? We're people too. And I'm like, I'm sorry you went on your show watched by 1.1 million people that week or something and decided to throw a hissy fit. And now you're going to throw a 20-minute long hissy fit on YouTube after the fact. Good job, Phil. Anyways, the show itself was great. The main event was also pretty good from CM Punk and Jon Moxley, that saw CM Punk get the belt right before he went on a little temper tantrum about how everybody's mean to him and lying on him. But like, yeah, it was a fun show. The highlight for me was probably the pre-show though. Like the pre-show match between Tomohiro Ishii and Eddie Kingston was just phenomenal, just incredible. I also really liked the Chris Jericho Bryan Danielson match, which felt way more like a way more like a Chris Jericho match than a Bryan Danielson match, and I don't mean that as like a bad thing. I think it worked out. And in more wrestling, this weekend WWE also held their event in Cardiff, Wales, Clash at the Castle, which was the first WWE show I have watched in ages with a hot crowd of it was a packed arena of like 40,000 plus. I think they said they had 62,000, but WWE lies their numbers up ridiculously, so don't trust them. But like, yeah, it was a hot crowd, super packed, was a fun show until the main event, which was boring as hell, because, I don't know, Roman Reigns only knows how to wrestle one match. But like, the highlight obviously was the Gunther Sheamus match, which is as hard hitting a match as you will ever see. That's just two dudes wrestling a 1987 like Tennessee like Tennessee Fairground style, just slapping the hell out of each other, and it ruled. So that's all I have. Do you have anything?
NFL starts Thursday. You should pick the Rams, even though everybody's saying the Bills are going to win. I'm starting Horizon Forbidden West this month. We're going to put Elden Ring down for a little bit, so I'll probably have a review coming out about that. Other than that, nothing much is going on.
All right, I've been Jeremy, and if you want to have any conversation across the world of comics or pop culture, please send me an email at jeremys@NorthcentralPA.com. And if you need to address any complaints, please address those to Brett at
brettc@NorthcentralPA.com. And if you need anything comic related wise or any of these awesome issues, make sure to go to Isle of Comics in South Williamsport.
All right, and remember, do you still do improv? Bye.
At UPMC, we're pioneering new ways to treat cancer, and we're working to prevent it. We're advancing new technology to look more closely at disease and helping you breathe easier. We performed the world's first heart-liver transplant, and we're experts at keeping your heart beating strong. We're a global team of more than 90,000, advancing care everywhere and delivering it closer to you. UPMC, life-changing medicine.